Don't mind, man. Whatever.
Yeah,
Just
see
I'm
how it
happy. Yeah,
flows.
I'm happy to be put on the spot and just do whatever
Uh,
resonates and you know.
all right, let's just see what's happening now. We're going to be live fairly soon. Let's just see. It's thinking its thing. We might be live fairly soon as I go and have a look. Going with that. Is it doing its thing? Lucky me, lucky me. No. Okay, it says it's live on Facebook. Here we go. Okay. This looks promising. I will just share this now to our respective timelines and we can get cracking. There we go. And I'll just tag you, Jason. Yeah, there you go. Jason, welcome to Conversations from Home. So my name's Christian from Awaken the Senses, and as part of International Mental Health Month, every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we're running a series of sessions to talk about a whole bunch of stuff. And today we've got the fabulous Jason Partington from Making Mainstream Meditation. He's the founder of that initiative and project and not-for-profit, and we'll talk more about that. But yeah, welcome, Jason.
Thanks, mate. Great to be here. Thanks for
It's,
inviting me.
I think we chatted maybe 3 months, 4 months ago. We were looking at music meditation. We're
We
still
still are
looking
looking.
at it.
Yeah. It hasn't
and,
gone yet. We've just been busy.
and I think it's a fabulous. We can talk a bit about the music after, but we were just before we went live. Let me just get onto this. I'm just going to quickly check this. Before we went live, we were just talking about energy and frequency, and you talked about Star Wars. Now, why would we ever talk about Star Wars when we talk about meditation? What is it about Star Wars as an icon of a movie, especially for men, and why it somehow relates to what we're going to talk about today?
I love that you just deep dive straight into
I love
Star
it.
Wars. That's such a good thing. No background, no intro. Let's just talk Star Wars. That's awesome.
Doesn't
Love
matter.
it.
We're going to
Yeah,
get
yeah.
that's the hook for people.
That's good. Like it. Yeah. No, I mean, as you know, I do 5 week meditation courses for men, and often it's a lot about connection and meditation, and looking at parallels in your life and trying to find, you know, uh, I mean, one of the first things I talk about with men is, what is their belief of, what's beyond life, like what is this big thing, is it energy, is it universe, what is your belief, is it God, um, what's the environment look like for you? And I'm not going to tell you what I mean, I'm not going to like say this is what it is. All I know is that I have my opinion about what I think life is and what the environment is and all those sort of things. But often we come back to, if there's no, we try to get everybody on somewhat of a similar page, even if they've got different descriptions for whatever, you know, the beauty of life is, whether it's nature, whether it's God, whether it's all these sort of different things. But, some men maybe don't have, or some of the men in my course have not really thought about it that much, or have pushed it to the back, or has never really contemplated it. And often we fall into Star Wars as a reference point. And Star Wars, I think, is a great reference point, because you've got the dark side and you've got the Force, and for me, it's quite easy to assimilate into what those things might represent, whether they do or whether they don't. But the tapping into the Force is really letting go of the ego and falling into something bigger than ourselves. Like it's falling into the belief that life is something magnificent and bigger than what we can contemplate, and being okay with that. And often, Luke's driving in the
The X-wing.
in the X-wing fighter, correct? And like to tap into the force, you have to let go. You have to surrender. You have to
Yeah.
surrender out of your head, and you've got to like trust, and you've got to like let go. Now, in my course, those two words, let go and also surrender, are the key elements of dropping out of the head into the
Yeah.
heart.
Yeah.
Um, that's what it takes in order to let go of all of these, blueprints and identities that we've gathered since we've been born through a whole range of different, exposure to media and parents and influencers and teachers and TV and everything else that we've been in, trauma and events, which have shaped us into who we believe we are. Um, and often meditation is about coming out of the head and all of these blueprints and identities, and the way to do that is often to let go of that. It's a part of the process. I don't want to like say it's the only part, but it is a big part, is to let go of that and to fall comfortably and beautifully into this, whatever you want to call it. Um, but and aligning with the force and exactly what that means is beautiful parallels there. In the dark side, really, when you think about it, it's all about ego. And we've all been there in ego. We spend most of our lives there in ego. And it's very fear based, and the power is based in fear. And that's where its power comes from. And, never having enough, and, wanting more, and reputation, and everything about self and I and me, not about everybody else. It's beautiful parallels. I love talking about it. We could do a whole an hour if you want.
And that's the thing, you were talking about the light and darkness. I mean, we all know there's a shadow within us. I was having a discussion with a friend of mine down in Tasmania, Darvis Walker, and he posted something on Facebook about a warrior sense and how violence is within us all, right? Yeah. And I posted the response and saying, yeah, we're all capable of anything. We are really capable of anything. We've all got a shadow, whether it's in our subconscious, whether it's inherited from our generations and whatnot. That dark side, and tuning into something in the way that Star Wars did, in a way Luke was resisting a lot of that dark side because it was such a pull for him, right? But at the end of the day, it's understanding that you have both, and it's being able to channel being aware of which, being able to channel, which almost brings me to this question of the word mindfulness. It's bandied around a lot. It's possibly overused at times, because they said, oh, well, let's just be mindful. What do you feel like? What is your take on what mindfulness is?
Yeah, it's an interesting subject, because it's something that I've had to really battle with, especially with corporates, because, and it's between the difference between meditation and mindfulness, those two different avenues as being different things, and many corporates have approached me and said, can you come and give a course, to our to our staff, and but can you rename your course and make it mindfulness instead of meditation? And I said to the HR person, no. And this has happened on multiple occasions now, because I think, from a corporate perspective, mindfulness is easier to tick the boxes. It's easier to clarify. It's easy to, being in the present moment, and non-judgmentally, and being able to let go of the past and let go of the future and just purely be here in the moment is a lot easier to handle, certainly from a risk perspective, than whatever meditation might meditation itself is a practice which is rooted in religion. 3,000 years it's been going, whereas mindfulness has come out, like out of that practice. So, for me, I've really chose meditation as the pathway because it brings more mindfulness into my life. It stops me constantly, and I think the more that I meditate, the more mindful I become. So rather than doing it the opposite way around, I feel that the meditation itself automatically, one of the benefits, the automatic benefits and the natural benefits that starts coming into my life is more mindfulness. And what I normally find is it stops me constantly throughout the day. Mindfulness for me stops me, it stops me more. Whereas otherwise I end up being on auto drive, just sitting up here in the top layers, just doing what I do very unmindfully, just going about business and whatever and being very unconscious. And whereas when I'm meditating, I'm just stopping a lot more. And I often talk to the people in the courses and stuff and just say, just watch out for it. Just watch out for it consistently during the day because it pops up all the time. And it's just this, I love giving the example of someone cutting you off in a car and the unconscious reaction of just like hitting the horn, giving the bird
signal.
signal, saying something nasty to them completely unconsciously. It might happen in a quarter of a second, but the act of mindfulness is that what seems to happen in mindfulness and creating more mindfulness in your world is that there just seems to be more time, like a pause that happens, and it's such a beautiful pause, and it's like
the 2 or 3 second wait where you go.
And it may not even be 2 or 3 seconds. It might even be milliseconds. But I know that I've, gone to hit the horn and just stopped for a second and gone, nah, just going to let it pass. And then let it go. And, so why does that happen? What is the internal chemistry which has made that happen? Well, the answer to that is I don't know. I have no idea. All I can tell you, and I can guarantee you, is when I've been meditating twice a day, that action of mindfulness happens consistently, more and more and more and more in my daily life. If I don't meditate, if I'm not doing those actions, if I'm not filling up my cup and connecting inside, I'm just on auto drive. I'm not having that presence of mind to consistently be aware of emotions and feelings and stopping and pausing and choosing and, choosing different actions. So for me, there's two very different worlds. But in my world, meditation has been the practice which has automatically given me more mindfulness without me having to worry about it or have to actually doing it. It's just a beautiful natural benefit of doing the 2 lots of 20 minutes a day.
And I think it's really interesting. You talked about the corporate sector. It's a big challenge because, at least from my part, I do meditation, but I'm called the mindfulness guru. So it's interesting that you talk about that. I do it at Foxtel, right? I've been doing it since August last year. And I had the same experience about, okay, let's call it mindfulness, because somehow there's this stereotype that says when you do meditation, you're, I don't know, levitating or something in a cross-legged position. There's so many myths. And it's really interesting that you talked about the corporate sector because I find even working in technology, I'm always in my head. I'm always in my head, solving problems. What's got to happen today? What's going to happen tomorrow? Oh, geez, if I would have done that yesterday. And it's so easy to just fall into those regular patterns time and time again on a day-to-day basis until you bring yourself back to center or bring yourself back to the present. And it's really interesting that you're tackling the corporate sector, and we'll go on to the meditation a bit more later, the
Yeah.
initiative. What's been your experience in addition to that? Has it been similar?
Yeah, look, I mean, I've been in the corporate world for a long time, so I understand the risk profile. So I understand why,
Mm,
and you know, HR looks at risk. They're looking at risk, and so they want to do wellness, but they want to do wellness on their terms, which is I want to do it low risk. So what does that mean? It normally means I need to quantify the result. I need to understand the entire practice and where it's coming from. So I get it. Like I totally, definitely not shooting down corporates
no,
and
no, no,
HR
no.
companies because I can see where the risk profile is. And with meditation, the basis and the roots of meditation came out of religion. So they don't want to be held account. I mean, if someone says, well, what is the basis of that particular type and style and practice of meditation that you're doing? And they say, well, it came from the Hindu religion, then the Buddhists and the Christians are not going to like it.
Mm,
Um, and they don't want to have that fight. They
mm,
do. They don't like grey territory, which they could be held account for. And there's so many unknowns to meditation in different styles and practices and
mm,
those sort of things. And now trigger alerts, which may, because it's delving into the emotional content. Yeah, as you said, like past lives and all sorts of. Trigger alerts for people in HR companies now are
I know, I know. Look, I
very
found
concerning.
the due diligence is and obviously I was very conscious when I was bringing the meditation to work to not necessarily talk about chakras necessarily until like there was a point where there were regulars where you could start
Yeah.
talking a little bit about that stuff. And again, that's a different style of meditation, but at the same time, we're energetic beings, and so careful with the dialogue in terms of that. I think
Yeah.
that's something that I've had
Yeah. 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 Very
to
much so.
work through. And I've been lucky enough, at least in my part, that some of the managers, some of the high
Mm.
level managers understand that,
Mm.
understand, they've done ice challenges themselves.
Yeah.
So they understand that health and well-being is so broad and holistic. And I think this year's been really interesting
Mm.
for a lot of companies because all of a sudden there's this whole work from home
Mm.
environment and this work-life balance. And at least from my experience and what I'm hearing out in the sector is people are actually doing a bit more work because they've got their devices handy and wherever they're going for a walk. And certainly we've been conscious of the fact that people have got to take breaks and get off their devices or get off their laptops so that they have that time for themselves and that mindfulness. And I think that's it's been a gift almost to what you've done as well in terms of mindfulness and meditation.
Mm.
Mm.
Yeah. Well, definitely this year challenge. There's been some challenges. Obviously, but and our world is different and it's changed, and there's lots of beliefs about the how and the why and what it is, which I don't want to get into. But the one thing that I can guarantee is that meditation as a daily practice is so very nurturing. It's only ever going to do you good. The one thing that you can guarantee on is that meditation is only ever going to make you feel better. Um, Even emotionally, sometimes you have an emotional release during a meditation, but it's a release. Sometimes you end up in a bit teary or, but
Yeah.
it's breaking down barriers and it's letting go of stuff. And sometimes you don't even know what it's about, but it feels good after, it feels the burden feels gone. And so, in a world where there's so many unknowns,
Mm.
having a practice which that you can rely on, that you can do anywhere, that fills your cup every single time, I think is something really, really comforting because you
Mm.
don't need the external, like so many people look for external tools or external escapes in order to deal with challenge. And if you have this skill and this tool, it can be your anchor. It can be the thing that you've got that you just know that you can rely on. And for me, that has been one of the things, the mainstays of my life is for the last 21 years. It's the thing that I can go back to always. I'm not perfect. I sometimes fall off the horse of life like we all do. I'm not sitting on the top of a mountain in orange robes, unaffected by life's challenges. Sometimes I fall off, you know, um, but I know it's always there. And I think that is the beauty of this skill and this thing is that if you allow it to do its magic and consistently bring it into your life, then it can provide an enormous amount of comfort and you know just like nurturing to you in any point. Like it's such an essential life skill. I think that I truly believe that everybody needs to be doing it, should be doing
Yeah.
it.
And look, I've seen in certain Eastern cultures,
Mm.
in a lot of the Asian countries, they will do a form of meditation for the kids at school.
Yeah.
And I think it boggles my mind because I'm going, these are
Mm.
practices that are in certain cultures that are just taken as part of a normal way of life.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there was Nathan Miola. I was meeting him the other day, and he said I think it's in Bangladesh, there's a bell that rings at school 5 times a day, and the kids honour death. It's like, because I think in Western society there's such a fear for it, but they actually teach kids from a young age. It's a certain way of honouring your life and being in the present. And I just think it's sometimes very fascinating, some of these Eastern cultural practices that I think it's beautiful that people are starting to engage in it here, and obviously in Western culture, but not enough, I would imagine.
Yeah. Look, I think that if you looked at every religion across the globe, there is beauty in and amongst all of them. You know what I mean? There's just if you took the top 10 beautiful things out of every religion, you could probably put them in a box and go, wow, they all speak to each other. But they're also divided. They've also divided our world. And, I think the time has come for us to, certainly, what we've been doing for the last couple of years and the movement that we're trying to create is not so much secular as like a movement which is very locally based, but more, okay, how do we speak to a global audience? Like what are the how energetically and communicatively and can we talk to the global platform rather than that one or that one that sits over there, and get like elevate out of religion. Like, not saying that religion is wrong or what, like, the last person to say what is right or what is wrong. All I'm saying is we can elevate all the beautiful stuff out of those religions and sit and agree on all of these principles, which all are a part of all of those religions. You know what I mean? And that's why, the movement that we created was very much about that. It was not about becoming, we believe this, it was about how do we resonate above and be in something that everybody agrees with, without having to say, no, 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 this is the way it is. Because, so, I think like elevating into a global, it's funny because we're thinking global right now, but we've never been more pushed into you're Australian and that's all you can do. You can't travel internationally anymore. You're only here. That's it. So we've actually gone from being, you think about our world, the last 100 years we've been celebrating, flight and being able to travel and all these sort of things, only to now come back to you are here and you can't actually, as a global citizen, you can't travel anymore.
So I think it's interesting you've said that too, because energetically, whatever's done in this country, if people repeat the same meditation or whatever, or try to raise the vibration in other countries, that's also beautiful too, even though we can't cross borders. Like a classic example was in February or whenever we had the fires for how long, 2-3 months, and drought. And all of a sudden, the Dalai Lama and a whole bunch of places came out and said, let's do an intention, a prayer to bring rain to Australia.
Yeah.
And we were just in this very room, we had about 8 or 9 people here, and I knew there was a whole bunch of people doing it at the same time. What happened?
Yeah, there's definitely some like I think that there's definitely a movement to go global right now. So even though physically we're being held, actually I think there's a lot of great stuff happening. Breaking through barriers, asking questions now about our society and how we do things as a whole, our politicians, our governments, power.
Even the online stuff. I mean, we've done men's circles, we've done workshops with people that would not normally physically be here, yet they've joined us from the US or Spain or wherever. Like, as much as the pandemic's been a challenge, it's been this massive opportunity where a whole bunch of other doors have been brought open simply because human beings have had to adapt to what's been presented. I don't know, it's a completely different discussion, but I think it's fabulous that as you said, it's almost like where they talk about the new normal. And often people have said, geez, I wish it goes back to, let's fast forward 2020 and just get to next year. But actually, it's a massive opportunity for so many people to take the initiative to do something they haven't done before, even if it's meditation as a modality for them or whatever. It's a huge opportunity.
Yeah, I think it's great. Look, I'm all for let's break everything, like break the lot, and then let's regrow. Like nature does. You look at the bushfires. If you go drive through the bushfires right now, you see a whole lot of black stumps with all these beautiful green shoots. It's just starting and evolving again. It's just amazing. So, for a long time we've been going down a route. I think globally we've been going down a route which is questionable on many different, and I don't think we need to fall into that debate, but it's questionable as to if we continue to go the way that we were going. I mean, it really wasn't very empowering, or it wasn't a really, I'm not sure of the word's not coming to me, but I'm glad we're breaking it. I'm glad we're breaking it, and I'm glad we're re-looking at it, because I think we need to. And I think there's a lot of opportunity now for us to recreate and come back to connection, to start looking even from even the basics of let's look internal, let's look inside rather than look outside for the answers. The answers are right in here.
Exactly. I think we've externalized so much of it. Even just the fear associated with getting sick, for example, it's very much a physical thing about, okay, we're going to get sick without looking at our internal workings and the fact we're energetic beings, and we're a whole bunch of a beautiful pot of so many emotions and thoughts, and not just the physical. And I think it's a really interesting it's interesting in the light of what's happened this year, but it's also interesting because this is International Mental Health Month, and there are obviously a lot of people struggling out there, not just because of the pandemic, but a whole bunch of other stuff that's coming into play, from suicides, from people losing jobs, from getting other sicknesses. And again, we can go into, we could have a debate about that, but the essence is there's a lot happening around us, and there's so many ways that we can heal, or there's so many ways we can heal trauma, or so many ways that we can use modalities to help improve our lives. And obviously meditation is, in my opinion too, is one of the key ones, because it comes back to the essence of who we are, and it comes back to breath and being present. And I think, and maybe that's a good segue, because we can talk about meditation as a word, but what is it about meditation specifically, and that brings you to the present, given that that's sort of almost like the outcome, but it's a lot more than that.
Well, I think it's like your intention about what you believe meditation is and what you want out of it is Uh, in my course, it's really interesting. I get guys, um, and I ask them in the first week. I say, well, what do you want to get out of this? And many of the guys say, I just want to feel relaxed. I want calm in my life. I want peace. I've got levels of anxiety, or I've got levels of stress in my life, or I feel burdened, and I want that to stop. You know, and it's interesting because when they talk about this, they're just talking here. They often have their hands up like this, either side of their brain, going, "Just make it stop. I just can't handle it anymore. My thoughts I can't stop my thoughts, and they're feeling this pressure, huge pressure, which can be, we can dive deep into that about identity and blueprint and not measuring up and, to society's norms. And I mean, that's a whole nother hour just on that alone. In fact, probably a whole nother week. But, there's that. I just want to feel calm. And then there's the other guy that's kind of like, these are sort of two camps that I sort of find a lot of, and not overgeneralizing, but and other guys talk to me about, well, I just don't know who I am. I got no idea who I am. I don't know what life's about. I don't know what my purpose is. I feel depressed. I hate my job. I'm not happy. I don't feel content. I don't like my relationships. I want to leave my wife. And there's that, there's that as well. And that's very coming from here. It's like I just don't feel connected. Like I don't know what I'm connecting to. So, I think meditation, for sure, it can be a relaxation process. You can use breath to relax. You can use breath to be calm. You can do all these, techniques in order to feel a level of, calmness. But I think the greatest benefit of meditation is letting go of the ideals that we have and going and allowing yourself to drop into something bigger, and the beauty of that, and to answer somewhat self answer the big questions of connection and who am I, and and they come naturally to those people who are looking and seeking for that. But you need to be looking and seeking for that. The intention behind meditation is so key as to what you get out of it. There was a guy that did my course. I still always remember him. Love this guy, because I said to him, like I don't want to, every dollar that we get for our meditation course, I put into our charity anyway. But I said, what are you here for? And he's like, well, I just want to relax. I'm pretty stressed out, those sort of things. And we talked about body, mind, soul. We talked about the environment. We talked about Star Wars. We talked about this. And really where I was trying to like work with everyone is to dropping out of our identity and dropping into the beautiful nature of abundance and the universe and energy and those sort of things. This guy was just like, nah, I'm just here, man.
Resistance.
I don't believe in anything other than my brain, and that's what it is.
Yeah.
And so I just said to him, well, look, I don't really want to take your money for just giving you a breathing exercise that's just going to give you calmness. I'm just telling you right now is that if that's all you're going to get out of it, then I don't really want to take the money, because for me, the greatest benefit is in all of that I've just explained. But he was quite happy. And he did the full 5 weeks and he was like, no, I'm good. But he didn't go below the surface. He stayed here. But that's okay, because that's what he wanted. And I guess where I'm getting to is that was his intention for doing meditation. It was only here and up. It was only about his mind and being able to do a practice which was going to consistently relax him. But there wasn't any movement other than that.
It's almost like the magic pill. This is what my mind needs. I need to rationalize to fix it. And I think, I feel that meditation, where I found it's really a beautiful exercise is where you surrender to it, and you don't realize until often after the meditation that it's not just that you can't, but it's like, I mean, there's been times where I've had a meditation or even a group meditation in a whole group of people, and my body was like really warm. You know, it was the energy was so beautiful in the room, picking up different energy, you know, especially those group meditations, that it was just a beautiful experience, like just feeling the warmth, feeling the energy in the room. And it really doesn't matter where you do it, really, but certainly, I mean, I've seen the stuff that you've got on your website, and it's so beautiful. I've seen the lives that you've done on Facebook, and I guess this is taking us to where this initiative has come from, making meditation mainstream, which obviously you founded. How long ago now was it?
So it was in December 2018.
Okay, so what brought you to that vision? What was it? You've been doing meditation for a while, but what was it specifically about that finding that movement?
Personally, I'd been doing meditation for 21 years, so I was and I never really thought of engaging it out of my own personal practice. You know, it was just me doing my thing. I was very focused on my own practice and what that was doing for me. But locally here, we had a tragic year, a terrible year here locally. I live in the northern beaches of Sydney. We'd lost 33 people in that year, just in our local area, just in the northern beaches. And, we lost 3 people on one weekend alone. You know, it was and so they started having these crisis meetings because people were in crisis. They're in trauma. Every time, like even now, every time, you can ask anyone in this area, anytime a helicopter goes overhead and stays for more than 5 minutes, it's pretty much an assumption that someone has just committed suicide. And it's just, this was doing my heart, like just killing, there was a local group here that we were losing 6 out of 8 men, like across Australia every day. Like, so 3/4 of the people that were suiciding were people who were men, 6 out of 8, 3/4 of the people. And so they held a local community support meeting just a couple of minutes from me in our surf club. And they laid out 30 chairs. They didn't think many guys would come. And 300 men turned up, just in crisis. And for me, that was a absolute, an incredible meeting, because the barriers came down. Men spoke their true heart. We had fathers of boys that had suicided that, told their story, and man, it just still gives me shivers and still gives me smiles.
No, I'm very emotional listening to that. Yeah.
Look, it was one, but at the same time, at the end of that, I felt like there was a light shining on me and going, well, what are you going to do about it? You've got this tool that saved you 21 years ago. So, and I kept on asking myself the question, why don't people meditate? Like, why don't more people meditate? And I was sitting there and I stopped listening for the last hour because I was just, why don't people meditate more? Why is it, why don't none of these guys meditate? There's probably 3 meditators in the room out of the 300. And I was like, why is that the case? And I was like, I've got to change it. I've got to change it, because the stereotype, I can see why 297 of those men didn't meditate, because what gets put in front of your face is it's either deeply religious or, you've got to have candles and incense and all this sort of stuff, or
and time,
or and it's only for the hippies, or whatever the stereotype you might want to box it in. But the reality is, it's not for the common man, and the way that it's being presented. So it came like a absolute, like a smashing. It was like, just create something that was easy to walk into, which had none of this stereotype, was just going to be all about connection and community. Create something that was not talking about chakras and stuff like that, not something deeply spiritual, not something that had, om music going in the background. I mean, all these things I love personally, but I mean, and create something which was free and was very community and and just about nature and appreciation and things like that, but also using it as a gateway, as a starting point
Just
for
something.
people to walk into, so that if they liked it, then they could engage something more.
Mm,
So I always saw it as the first step, as,
mm,
there's heaps of guys. Like, it's funny because we get 30 or 40 guys down at my local one here down in Avalon Beach. I mean, 70% is guys, which is unheard of, that are all meditating on a Saturday morning at 6:30 for sunrise.
mm,
And then they all go and do yoga after it. I mean, we're breaking stereotypes, and
mm.
it's just a wonderful thing to see, is parents meditating with children, men meditating with women, um, partners, teenagers, different socio-economic backgrounds, the entire melding pot
Mm.
of cultures, religions, sitting together in
In
nature,
community.
just sitting together in nature. And there's one beautiful aspect I love, Christian, and that is when I always get up 5 minutes before the end, and I have the absolute privilege of recording and just watching this group meditating together, and just sitting there, and I get to wake them up with music at the end, and watching the difference, and watching them all sit together feeling connected, but they haven't said anything to each other. And
Mm.
it's phenomenal. I tell you, it's for me, it just breaks my heart open every weekend. I nearly break into tears every weekend, because it's just so beautiful. That's what life's about, is this heart-centered connection and community, and none of the barriers and bullshit.
I was going to say bullshit. You took the way you
Yeah,
said it before me.
just, and people sharing and caring about each other. And it's this activity we can do together with no barriers and boundaries, and yeah, no bullshit, man. It's just, and it is one of the most purest, most beautiful things. I got to say, look, we've got a cliff at the edge of our beach, and we now have people come and have coffee up there and watch us. Then they just love watching people meditate
Mm.
together. It's a beautiful thing. Yeah. So what can yeah. So I don't know, man. I'm a bit biased, but it
No,
just.
yeah, it's called passion. You
Mm,
got to believe. I mean, I think what's beautiful too in the movement, not just in your movement, but
mm,
any initiative, and even just Nancy and I 2 months ago talked about, let's do these conversations from home. She's been doing it since March, a mix of English and Spanish, but we said, look, it's International Mental Health Month, and what's beautiful, and it's almost like your story as well, is people when people believe in your vision and can see your passion associated with it, the collaboration's amazing.
mm,
Do you know what I mean? When
mm,
that people can see that there's something beyond
mm,
any ego, any, I don't know, you know what I mean? There's no intention from our part, but just Picasso says, you know, your purpose in life is to find your gift, yeah, and then your purpose then is to give it away. You know what I mean? And it's really interesting that you talked about people witnessing and opening the door for meditation to something bigger into meditation. I think from what you're telling me is because people are bringing themselves to a level of vulnerability, because that's essentially also what they're doing when they're meditating, particularly amongst the group.
mm,
It also opens those doors up for bonding with
mm.
other men or with
Yeah,
other women or families talking about the experience. Like it opens a hell of a lot more than just let's do meditation now for a bit longer. You know what I mean?
yeah. Well, the thing you know, the whole name, making meditation mainstream, is about normalizing the activity. Um, you know, I can go back only 3 years, and in my area, I was the only person meditating on a beach by myself. It's, there might have been one or two others I might have seen, individuals, and going back 3 to 5 years, if you look at someone that's meditating on a beach, it's seen as a unique event, which you might look at that and go, "Oh, look at that person, they're meditating." That's not a mainstream. That's not a mainstream activity. So the thing I love about Triple M and what we're doing is it creates conversation around. So we've got a whole bunch of surfers and surf lifesavers and stuff like that. The funny thing is that 2 years ago, they were like, "What the hell are you guys doing?" Like, they were so confronted because I was on their turf, I was on their territory, meditating in front of their surf club where they, and now there's they don't even give it. They don't even blink. They don't even blink. It's so normalized for them now. It's like, oh yeah, they're the meditating crew. And that's what I love about Triple M is we've done that in my local area. We've done that. So people come down and they go, oh yeah, that's Triple M. These guys all meditate on a morning, and they all stick around for coffee after. That's what we do. But nobody blinks an eye anymore.
Mm.
That's normalizing, and so we've had people that have watched us for 2 years, seriously up on the thing. They've watched us and have been too scared to go, and only just now starting to go, do you know what? I've watched you guys for 18 months and this is my first session down. Because now I feel like it's become so normalized, I can actually join.
Mm.
And it takes that to make a movement,
And that's right. That's that step.
Yeah.
That step. I mean, I had a chat to my mother today because she knew I was doing the conversations with you today about meditation, and Mum's 81. And she says, she said, son, I've never meditated. I don't even know what it is.
Mm.
Right? And she's 81 years old.
Mm.
And I said, well, tune in. You can understand a little bit about, and a bit like what you said earlier, there are so many people that it's not so much the access, because I think there is access once you're taught the tools about being able to do it in your own space. It's not something you do for an hour. It's not something where you have to close the blinds on something. It's something you can very easily do, even if it's sitting at your desk. I've got an Iranian work colleague, and he did one of the meditations with me, and I think there was about 40 or something in the room, right? And as he's walking in the hallway, he says to me, I'll close my eyes at my desk now and just sit there and concentrate on my breath for half a minute. And that's all. You know what I mean? But that's something. It's like the step.
Yeah.
It's like that little gateway to say, okay, I'm being... He recognised that it was a benefit for him.
Well, I've got a great example of how this is starting to weave its way beautifully into our world without people recognising that it's happening, which I kind of love. But, I'm in my day job, I'm a COO for a vertical farming company here in Australia. And we've got 4 executives. And 2 of them are pretty much in this world, or, meditate or have experience with it, or, it's not new to them. But one of the guys who's a little bit older, in his late 60s, and his name's Jim. He wouldn't be watching tonight because he doesn't watch social media.
Oh, you never know.
But he's this guy's like so lovely. And, when we were first, I got first introduced to the execs, that he was like, what's this meditation thing? Blew it off, and that's for, that's for hippies, and did exactly what I thought he was going to do, which is blow it off. So we came into an executive meeting in a couple of weeks' time, and it was at my house down below, and I sort of set some nice oils and things like that in place, and everyone came in a bit frazzled from wherever they were coming in from. So I said, look, hey, listen, everyone's a bit stressed, or this meeting's not going to be very effective. Do you mind if I just do some breathing techniques and stuff like that. I didn't call it meditation because I knew that he had a predisposition to the word. So I said, I just want to run through this thing. So I put a little bit of background music on, did this breathing technique. And he said at the end, he's like, oh man, I feel really grounded and changed. And, wow, that was awesome. He's like, what's that all about? I said, that's meditation. And he's like, no way. So the funny thing is that every executive meeting now, we start with a 3 to 5 minute meditation. This is with old school guys, like that had a no, that's not for me, or that. But now he actually is the one that asked for it. He's like, no, we're not starting, not until we do that breathing thing that Jason does. Just, can you do the breathing thing? He refuses to call it meditation, I think, but yeah.
And people can call it what they want.
You can call it whatever.
I mean, I had the experience because I do men's circles. We have a check-in, then we have a discussion, and then we check out. And so part of the strategy group for wellbeing that I'm involved with at work, I started that. I basically said to him, look, if we're going to be, we're going to be talking about health and wellbeing, we need to be able to do it as an example. So every fortnight when we meet as a strategy group across the whole of the company, that's what we do. We do a check-in, 1 out of 10, where we're feeling, and then we do a quick check-out at the end. And so, and that model, almost like a men's circle model, check in, check out, and whatever discussion happens in between, that's now being taken on board by
it's brilliant.
The upper management. And like I said, sometimes it's about planting that seed. And I know Nancy, if Nancy's watching, she had a funny experience in a previous employer where she did the whole breathing thing because she was working in the social welfare industry, and a lot of burnt out social workers and stuff. And initially there was some resistance, but after she left, she subsequently found out that they'd been doing it anyway. It was like 2 years later. And it was like, sometimes it's just about planting that seed and then having a few people and building a tribe, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, man, we're creating the ripples. You just don't know how far the ripples, this conversation online, you just don't know who sees it, how it goes, the impact that it has. A lot of the stuff that we were doing through COVID, we ended up doing online meditations called the Breathing Room for Triple M online. We came off the beach and did it online. And, I started getting like all of these messages from people that we didn't see online. They weren't online, but they were watching the recordings after the fact. And there were people from the States, from the UK, and some of the messages were so impactful and so like, if you guys weren't here doing this, I'm not sure where I'd be, So you just don't know how far that ripple goes, and you just got to continually be the one creating the ripple, creating that constant ripple and being that person. I really encourage people to be that constant ripple consistently,
It's a beautiful analogy, just dropping that little stone. I remember doing meditation a couple of weeks ago for someone. It was almost like a one-on-one. It was actually someone from HR, had never done meditation before. And they were feeling extremely emotional after the meditation, having not done it before. And often, I don't know whether that's been your experience as well, but sometimes you pick up on the energy of, particularly when it's a one-on-one or if it's a couple of people, whatever's in that room, sometimes the meditation often leads itself to something, and somehow there's a commonality of whatever needs to be healed or whatever needs to be worked through in that particular meditation, which is, I think, really beautiful.
Yeah, man, I'm with you. Yeah, it's like holding the space.
That's right. I was just thinking, is there any chance you can do a little 5-minute meditation for anyone? And obviously this is going to Facebook Live. And
well, I think we've got 5 minutes left. So maybe what I might do is, instead of, I'll give you an idea, is because I in our time left, I want to be able to talk about 28 for 28.
Sure, absolutely.
And also, but there's a really beautiful analogy that that really came to me the other day that I want to share maybe in meditation. And so this whole process, the whole process of brainwaves coming down through brainwaves and thinking about it like, we're often at beta, like beta brainwaves, and we're dropping down, and that sort of high level brainwave, and sort of seeing it like it's a book, somewhat like the pages of a book layered, going down through the mind. Um, and I actually did this in my meditation because I was having quite a thought based, I'd actually done the wrong thing, to be quite honest. I'd woken up in the morning and I'd gone straight to my phone and engaged some activity on an email and stuff like that, which left me with questions and all of a sudden a very thought filled meditation that was with me. And I sort of slipped into this thing where I was like, okay, Jace, just, you're up here. You're totally up here. Um, you just like, I often when I'm up here, I'm thinking to myself and I'm saying, there's the acknowledgement and the mindfulness to say, you're up here. You just need to let go. You just need to let go, and you need to surrender, and you need to somewhat fall back. Often I do that process of falling back, of feeling like I'm letting go, but not only just telling myself I'm letting go, but when you're on the edge of a cliff, and the action of surrender, which is a very powerful action of just like allowing your hands to go, somewhat like a bungee jump, right? But but knowing that you're falling into absolute comfort and safety, not a scary ride for 100 foot down, but instead just falling into the safety and being held, and just falling that way. Surrendering into that is, and often I'd do that, but I still wasn't dropping really down, and which sometimes happens, like this is normal meditation. You have different experiences every time. But what was coming to me was this image of a spider, and sort of sitting up here and just dropping off of a thread, and the spider just like literally just, how they just, if you really watch one, if you really sit in nature and just watch one, they just slowly, 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 slowly start to come down. And so I just focused on this ease of dropping through the mind layers, like this spider just beautifully dropping, like moment by moment, and just dropping easily into the abyss, into this sort of beautiful safety of the abundance down below, and just watching it go through my mind layers. And it went from bzzz to whoa, and it was just such a beautiful moment, and I just want to pass that on. So maybe
I'm envisioning that now. Just
yeah, man,
close my eyes and
yeah, do it. Like like sometimes if that those two things I wanted to really give is, the first thing
yeah.
was that surrender point of just like allowing yourself to fall back and know that you're held in this, what might be the abyss or the universe or the energy that is, but it's going to hold you, and you're safe there, and you're always held, always, you're always held, every time. So, and it accepts you without judgment, and you can fall into it knowing that it's going to hold you every single time. That and
The spider.
just that beautiful. Maybe those people who don't like spiders maybe imagine something else, but
Nancy, when she sees them on the ceiling or whatever, she energetically walks them out. I've seen her do it. She energetically walks them out. Okay, go. It's hilarious.
Yeah, that's cool.
And tell me, 28 for 28. Now, we're, I think, 9 days through. But tell me just a little bit about that. This is a challenge that you've got for everyone in October, right?
We're very close with Lifeline. We have been from the very beginning. They've been under a great amount of pressure and stress through COVID. They've had a 25% increase in call rates, in counselling services requirement. They're getting a call every 30 seconds. They're getting 3,000 calls a day across Australia wide. It cost them $28 to train, resource, equip someone to answer one call. I mean, I've been in the center and watched it, and it is very impactful to see a computer screen with calls from people who are in crisis loaded up on the screen, but only having a certain amount of resources that can answer. And these people can't hang up on someone that's already in crisis. They have to hold the call and stay with them. But seeing calls drop out because there's not enough people and not enough support. So for me, that was an absolute moment of we have to do more. We've got to not only do we need to help people be proactive about their mental health and to understand meditation, which is what we're on the front end, but also support Lifeline to help on the back end with support in crisis calls. So for me, it was a beautiful fusion of let's do 28 days together. So 28 days of people experiencing some consistent meditation, 10 minutes a day, seeing and bringing that habit into your life of, okay, I'm going to spend 10 minutes giving myself some self-love today, 10 minutes giving myself grounding, and see what that feels like doing it for the month. Like anything, you do something consistently for the month, feel the benefit. But at the same time, fundraising and saving $1 a day over the 28 days in order to give to Lifeline because, it cost them $28 for one phone call. So so far, we've reached about $22,000 in donations, which has been mind-blowing. You can join. You've been such a fantastic advocate. I can't thank you enough for your support, Christian, with what you've done with the 28 for 28. You've been a wonderful supporter, and you can join this at any point in time. I don't mind if you give $5, $10, whatever, but we've still got a lot of the month left. There's still 3 weeks left out of the month. Come and join now. Come and, there's different, so we provide you, Making Meditation Mainstream provides you with pre-recorded meditations that are loaded up on social media and our website every day. There's a different theme that we roll with every day. So we've got 28 themes across the month. It's only a 10-minute meditation. We've got 2 lives that we do as well on our social media. So there's one at 6:30 a.m. and one at 8 p.m. That we roll as well. So, there's lots of support. And literally, if you've never meditated before, all you need to do is stick your headphones in, listen to the guided, and do the 10 minutes a day. It's as simple as that. And then, jump on and maybe support Lifeline and give $1 a day. And that would be an enormous help and something good for you and also something good for this charity organisation of Lifeline that is supporting people during COVID. So,
and that one call could literally save someone's life.
It can save a life, yeah.
That's what's amazing. And the ripple effect.
Correct. All the ripple effects which will happen out of this as well. So, and all the people that you'll touch as well, I mean, talk about ripple effects. If you meditate, if you take on the commitment to help yourself, you have a group of people around you that'll ask you about, what are you doing? You seem really peaceful today. You seem really calm. Oh, I'm doing the 28. What does that mean? Okay, well, I've decided to do this meditate. How far does that go? How far does that message go? Put a couple of thousand people all doing that ripple effect. It's just, be the person who drops the pedal. That's
the thing. I mean, I've been fortunate enough that my boss Ed, who we've championed that at work, and so there's a whole bunch of people that then have joined because it builds that community within the organisation too. It's not just a question of saying meditation. Obviously, that's a key part, but it's also the fact that it's helping Lifeline, which is the other part of it. And there's a few of us at work obviously that have joined the initiative, and we'll be able to be better for it too. And it's something we can talk about, which we've talked about it at work.
Yeah.
the last couple of
Definitely,
weeks.
mate.
So.
Definitely.
But much love to you, Jason.
Cool, mate. Well,
Uh,
thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity and the space and to be able to talk about this. I very much appreciate your support and everything you've done for the 28 for 28, but also creating this opportunity with what you're doing
mm,
with the, like the talking from home and the communicating from home. That's an amazing thing that you guys are doing. So, thanks to Nancy as well I've seen several of your the chats that you're doing. And once again, you guys are dropping the pebble in the ocean, which is
mm.
creating a ripple. So thank you guys for, for being the pebble, choosing to be the pebble.
Do a big rock.
Huge, massive rock. Yeah. Yeah.
So again, much love, and that vision I think you've got for 2022 is to have 100 plus beach locations to be doing meditation on the East Coast. Is that right?
Well, it doesn't. We're actually opened it up to be anywhere. So,
Anyway, okay.
and it doesn't need to be beach either. You can do it in the city. You can do it by parks, as long as it's out in nature. We're happy to facilitate it. So, we've got one opening in Switzerland this year. We've got one opening in Hawaii.
Wow.
So we're about to go international. Yeah, this can be done anyway.
I'd love to see the journey continue.
Cool,
Awesome
man.
work, Jason.
And thanks,
Thank
thank
you,
you, buddy.
thank you, Nancy. I know I can see you're online
Thanks,
communicating all the way from Byron Bay. You lucky thing.
Oh, lucky. Yeah.
I should get her to join tomorrow's meditation in Byron. Is there one there?
Yeah, there is in Brunswick Heads.
There you go, Nancy.
10
Tomorrow's
minutes away.
meditation.
Yeah.
All right, much love.
All right.
I'll stop the stream and then we can just stay online. Just bear with us.